Welcome everyone, this is John from Vintage Watch Hunter. Today we are going to learn how to spot a fake BVLGARI Diagonal Scuba SD38S 38mm chronometer watch. So what we have here is a BVLGARI fake. This is not an authentic watch. Unfortunately, I don't have an authentic one to compare. However, we do have pictures, so we'll look at those. But anyway, we're going to go over each aspect of the watch in detail and try and figure out how we can spot a fake. This one is actually a very high quality fake, which gave me a little trouble at the beginning because it does have a good movement in it. But we're going to figure out all the other ways that this watch is a fake. So here we go. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to start off, or not start off, with the case and the case construction. I think if you are trying to figure out if your watch is a fake by the construction alone, you're going to have a little bit of difficulty because it can be kind of difficult to figure out if your case is of high quality or not. So what you really want to do is you want to look at other features of the watch, like markings or characteristics of the watch that you know are genuine or should be genuine. So here we go. So we are going to start off with the case bezel, with this outer rotating bezel here. So first off, what we're going to look at, let me get this centered here. Try one more time. We'll get this lume dot centered here, and we're going to actually take a look at the lume dot itself. So what we have here is a lume dot, and if you see the picture that I have also added to this video, you'll see that the lume dot on the watch, the authentic watch that we're looking at, the lume dot encapsulates the entire portion above the 12 here, okay? So in this triangle, it should take up the entire section of the triangle. This is actually very common in fake watches. They don't do a very good job with the lume dot here. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a very difficult thing to get down, but generally the fakes, they don't do a very good job with this lume dot. So anyway, that is the first way that we are going to know that this one is a fake. Okay. The second way is if we take a look at these minute markers here on the bezel. So if you look at the picture that I have attached, you'll see that the thickness of the actual 15 is quite a bit different, okay? It's much different than what the authentic version shows. As well, if we flip it over and you look at the 45, the 4 is actually a very good number to look at when you're trying to figure out if something is a fake or not, because it's very hard to get the font right for a 4. You can see it's got a lot of lines on it. So anyway, we'll take a look at this 4 here. I'll try and get it centered up, and we'll try and get the focus good. So here we go. So if you look at the 4, the font of the 4 is completely different than the authentic version. This 4 was not made with much care, I guess, to live up to or to match what the original BVLGARI watch has. So that's another really good way, is to look at these numbers here on the case and decide if they match what is on the original. Now, there can be the font, it can be the depth of the font, it can be the size, it can also be the spacing. But with this one, we can definitely tell that the 1 is a lot thinner than the original or the authentic version, and the 4 is completely different. It's a totally different font. So that is a very easy way. So again, on the bezel, you have the lume dot here at 12, and you have the fonts. Again, I would not use like the case, how the case was made as a marker for authenticity, because it can be very difficult to tell. Okay, so we'll move on from the bezel, and then we're going to go back to the case itself. Here we go. And we're going to go over to the case back. So what we have here is our inauthentic one. And what you can see, I'm going to try and get this. It seems my focus keeps going away, but if we look at the size of the font on this case back, and we see how far the depth of the writing is, whether it was stamped or etched or however that goes, this one does not seem to be anywhere near the size or shape of the original or authentic piece. I keep saying original, we want to say authentic, but I don't think it's anywhere near the authentic. So take a look at the spacing in BVLGARI, the spacing between the letters, as well as the thickness or width of the letters, and you'll see that it is quite a bit different than the font on the authentic version, okay? Now, I think that's more than enough just for the case back, so we don't really have to go anywhere, any further into the top of the case back. We'll look at the underside of the case back as well, but from the top side or back side of the case back, we can tell just from that this is not an authentic piece. As well, with the construction of the case, looking at the construction of the bracelet is really not the best way to go to tell if your watch is fake. There are a lot of, especially with Rolexes, right? There are a lot of Rolexes that have a case that is actually, you know, very high quality. So trying to look for quality of case or bracelet is not very good. However, what I did also find in my research for this watch is that on all of the authentic pieces, they have a model number here. Excuse me, right on the first lug. Okay, and our watch is missing that model number or bracelet model number. So that is another sign that our watch is not authentic. It is not a genuine piece. We're missing a model number. So if you're looking at your watch at home as well, if you do have one of these, make sure you have a model number on the bracelet. Okay, we'll move on. So after after the case, bezel, and the bracelet, what we're going to go do and look at is the dial. Now the dial can be quite difficult to tell, but what we can see on our original, okay, not even looking at the font right now, we can look at the Arabic numerals here. We see the 12 and the 6. Those are our only Arabic numerals we have on this dial, but we have a 12 here and we have a 6. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this very well. I may pull the movement out and we can just look at the dial itself a little bit later, but you can barely make out how raised this number is, and it does not look very raised on the dial here. If we go back and look at our original, or excuse me, our authentic Bulgari, we'll see that the Arabic numerals, the 12 and the 6, are just as raised as the hour markers themselves. Now, if you look very carefully here, you can see that the hour markers, right, 1, 2, 4, you can see that these are raised off of the dial, okay? And if you look at the 12, it does not seem to be raised like those hour markers there. Again, on the genuine, I believe that the Arabic numerals are raised just the same as those hour markers. So that's another way we're going to tell that this is also not a genuine piece. Let me move this minute hand out of the way here real quick. Okay, so now let's move on to the font. This can be tricky, especially without magnification, but we can actually see, if you compare this to our authentic watch that we have a picture shown, you will see that the line spacing on Chronometer Officially Certified and 200 meters is slightly different, all right? So the 200 meter sits further below the Chronometer Certified on the authentic piece than it does here on our fake. Okay, as well, you will also see that the font is not correct, all right? So the font, the spacing are totally different than the genuine piece, which is going to tell you that this is not a genuine article, or that your watch is not genuine. All right, so that's some of the dial. Maybe we'll get back to that later. So now we will move to the next section. We're going to look at the case back, the underside of the case back here. Let's see if I can get this off. There we go. So we can take a look at the case back here. And the inside of the case back on our watch, there is no marking. There's no Swiss-made marking. There's no Bulgari marking. There's no anything. All we see is stainless steel and then the number 965. Now again, researching this watch online, it was very difficult to find any photos of the inside of the case back of an authentic piece. However, I can tell you just from picking up thousands and thousands of watches that if you do have a luxury Swiss piece that costs thousands of dollars, the inside of the case back is going to be marked with the name of the company, maybe a reference number, okay, and the materials that the case is made of, right? And it's not going to be like just written stainless steel, just like it is here. I lost my pegwood. Let me go get it. Okay, we got our pegwood back. Yeah, so anyway, there's just a marking for stainless steel and a 965. This, I would say, in and of itself, would demonstrate a fake a fake piece. A real piece would certainly have more markings on it, okay, than this one shows. Now, let's move to the movement itself. I was confused when I first got this piece because I was not sure of its authenticity, because I opened it up and I saw that there's actually a genuine, authentic ETA 2624-2 automatic movement in this. So this was the first aspect of the watch that threw me for a little bit of a loop. So that's why I said this is a fairly high quality fake, because it has a really good movement. This is if you want to buy this movement new, it's just about $200 for the movement alone. And you will find these ETAs in a lot of modern watches that are retailing over $1,000. So even though this does have an ETA, we can talk about what you should look for, obviously, in a fake watch. So if the watch is supposed to be an automatic, and it's not an automatic, it's a quartz watch, you're going to see, obviously, that the second hand is going to have a tick, right? It's not going to have a sweep like in this watch. That's obviously the first sign that something is not right. But this has a sweep, which kind of threw me for a loop. And it actually has a real ETA movement. Okay, so we'll go back to the ETA. It's going to be very hard to see this. I'm going to try and get it here for you. But if you look very closely under the balance wheel here, you can kind of make out the ETA stamp right there. You can make out the ETA stamp, and you could see right here where it says 2624-2, which is the movement number, okay? So a fake is not going to have, if it's a clone ETA or a replica ETA, they are not going to put in the ETA stamp, right? So that is one way to tell if you have a true movement or not. As well, on a lot of these fakes, any of the ring around the movement, okay, the movement ring, is not going to be metal. It's going to be made of plastic. This one is made of metal. It's got a metal ring around the movement holding it in, as well as screws, right, to hold down the movement. So this is actually a very good movement. Whoever made this was really trying to throw people off, because this probably cost someone $300, $400, $500 to purchase this, just because the movement is very expensive, right? It's a very good movement. Also, again, it's very hard to find these Bulgaris with any photos of the movement themselves, but I would assume that a Bulgari movement, if it's not in-house, if it is made by ETA, will still have the Bulgari name here on the oscillating weight, and maybe some flourishing on the movements, maybe some engravings or something like that, in order to add value to the movement here. But this one does not have that, right? It's just a simple ETA 2624-2. And what I'm going to do with this watch is pretty much throw the case into my jar of fakes, and I'm going to sell this ETA because it is genuine, and it will sell for about $150. So anyway, that is our fake BVLGARI SD38S scuba watch. I really hope this has been valuable for you. If you do have one of these, or if you're trying to authenticate one, you can use some of the tips that I have given you in this video to help you authenticate your piece. If you have any questions, please get a hold of me. Oh, you know what? We also have one more thing, actually. I just noticed this now, or forgot to mention it until now. The double folding clasp here. Okay, the clasp on this watch. The authentic, I will get a picture of this. The authentic has the Bulgari logo stamped in it as well, where it says Swiss made. Steel is stamped. If you look closely at ours, let me get this back again, the focus. If you look closely at ours has been printed on. It is not stamped into the steel. Okay, the original one has a Bulgari logo stamped into the steel as well. On the other side, it says Swiss made stainless steel, and that is, again, that should be stamped into your watch. As you can see, this one is just applied on, okay? It's either it's printed or applied, however it is that they did this, but this should be stamped on. All right, I hope you like those tips. I hope they help you in finding out whether or not your Bulgari, or any watch for that matter, is fake or authentic. You can use all these tips, from font to font spacing, size, markings on the case back, whatever it is. to help you authenticate your watch. So please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I will try and get some more of these out. And also please comment if I missed anything, or if you have something to say to me, some criticism or whatever it is. I would love to hear it. Thank you so much, and we'll be back for the next one. This is John from Vintage Watch Hunter saying, see you later.